What's going on, guys? As we all know, Vince Carter's career has finally come to an end after a breathtaking 22 years. To understand how we got to this point, we have to start from the beginning.
Lynn puts it up. Bang! Jeremy Lin from downtown, and the Knicks take the lead.
Vincent Lamont Carter Jr. was born on January 26, 1977, in Daytona Beach, Florida. He was the first of two boys in his family and picked up his first basketball at the age of just 2 years old. To no one's surprise, Vince idolized Julius Erving. Vince would try to copy the doctor's moves and picked up the name UFO as a young kid. Although, not everything for Vince came as easy, as by the time Vince was in second grade, his dad left him. They kept little to no contact. This could have came as a blessing though, as Oliver Lee, his uncle, took him under his wing. Oliver was drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the 1981 draft and would eventually become a legend on the blacktops of Daytona Beach. Vince would soon enough touch rim by 11 and slam down his first dunk by just 12. Vince didn't let hooping get to his head though, as he worked hard in school and on the court, with dreams of getting a free college education. Vince first noticed his gift when during a freshman game, he threw down a dunk with two kids hanging all over him. After that, he began to work hard to develop his leaping ability, dribbling, passing, and shooting with both hands to eventually make the varsity team his sophomore year while averaging 20 points a game. Vince took off his junior year. He was immediately a star, thanks to his coach, as his coach moved him the guard to forward, so Vince could use his 6'6" frame and leaping ability to pull down rebounds while finishing the year with 25 points and 11 rebounds a game, to help his team get a 30-2 record. By his senior year, Vince could do it all, not just on the court, as he maintained a solid 3.0 average, led his high school marching band, and wrote the halftime music. He did all of this while being the most heavily recruited player in Florida, being named Florida's Mr. Basketball. It came time to leave for college. Most were expecting him to go to either Florida or Florida State. To everyone's surprise, Vince chose North Carolina, a decision that gave him a lot of heat. Many people also questioned the decision because Dean Smith, the coach of North Carolina, ran a system that didn't really encourage players to show what they are truly capable of. Vince had a rough freshman year, as opposing defenses were able to stop him driving to the basket. He'd eventually get benched, but his teammates flourished, as Antoine Jamison won the ACC Rookie of the Year. The team had a rough postseason, losing in the first round of the ACC tournament to Texas and losing in the regional round of the NCAA tournament. Vince decided to stay his sophomore year to work on his game. He tried to implement things that he had to run in the system into his game. He would eventually go off his sophomore year in a similar fashion to that of Michael Jordan. He played so well that the team won the ACC tournament and they made it all the way to the Final Four, losing a grinded-out game to the young and up-and-coming Arizona Wildcats. In the summer, Vince hooped with someone you may have heard of, a high school star, Tracy McGrady. T-Mac planned on entering the draft right out of high school, which would mean he'd enter the draft just a year before Vince. And later that summer, Vince had a family reunion and found out that a distant cousin was none other than Tracy McGrady. His junior year was set up to be dramatic immediately, after Dean Smith retired due to a battle with cancer. Although, the loss of Dean Smith as their coach seemed to motivate them, and they finished the season with only one loss. They rolled through the ACC tournament, and Jamison and Carter formed one of the greatest forward tandems of all time. Although, after a phenomenal run to the Final Four, UNC lost to Utah in a massive upset. And sadly, this was his last memory in the NCAA, as he declared for the 1998 NBA draft. He'd get drafted by the Warriors, and he'd eventually get traded to the Raptors for his former teammate, Antoine Jamison. There was no better place Vince and his skill set could have ended up than Toronto. First off, he was playing alongside Tracy McGrady, but more importantly, Vince's high-flying dunks were the perfect way to get the Raptors on the map, and they sure did. Vince gave the city the swagger and skill they desperately needed. Vince lived up to the hype, winning Rookie of the Year while averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, as he led Toronto to their greatest season ever at 23-27 with a 46% win percentage. This gave them the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. It was a big year for the Raptors, and it gave them some momentum going into the 2000 season. Vince finished his second season averaging 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists, with his first All-Star appearance. Most people remember this season because of this amazing performance at the dunk contest.
All right, here is Vince Carter with his first stop. Let's go home. Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go home. Let's go home. Let's go home. This building just exploded.
Hey, that is a reverse 360 going against the grain. That is unbelievable.
All right, here is the second dunk of the night. Vince Carter. And Vince adding to the repertoire.
They're in awe of what they're seeing. That is unbelievable.
Keep in mind, Vince Carter also has a few stitches in that left hand when he incurred an injury dealing with weights in the weight room. So he's stitched up in the left hand doing all this.
Oh, it's over! It's over, ladies and gentlemen!
The judges are coming over the table to congratulate Vince Carter. This is unheard of.
Oh, my goodness gracious! It is over! Did I call it, Danny, or what?
Hey, Tracy McGrady, he doesn't even know what to do. He's walking away. He plays with this guy every day, and he's in awe.
All right, Vince Carter with his first on the final round. Ladies, wait, time out. Can I take a time out? Wait a moment, man. Have you never seen that?
I've never seen that before.
Vince also helped Toronto receive their first playoff appearance ever as they finished with a 45-37 record as the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Raptors would be swept by the Knicks, and this would be a huge stepping stone for the franchise. It was a rough offseason as T-Mac left for Orlando due to the fact that he was following in Vince's shadow. It didn't matter. Vince had another great year, making the playoffs as the top seed. The Raptors eliminated the Knicks in a grinded-out 5 games to face Philadelphia, where they'd lose a hard-fought 7-game series after Vince missed the game-winning shot that would have most likely sent the Toronto Raptors to their first-ever NBA Finals. After this year, he battled with many injuries until he was pushed out of Toronto by the front office. The organization made it look like Vince wanted out, but that's not how he felt. It didn't matter, and he was sent to New Jersey in 2005. He went from being the heart and soul of Toronto to being the most hated player in the history of the franchise.
North Carolina, 6'6" guard number 15, Vince Carter. And from California, 6'4" guard at number 5, Jason Kidd. The head coach of the New Jersey Nets is Lawrence Frank.
Vince had a rough time in New Jersey from the time he got there in 2005 to when he left in 2009. They only made the playoffs 3 times, and they were eliminated early every year. Not only that, but his all-star caliber career became non-existent after 2007, but he was still a very consistent player. Vince bounced around from team to team after his time in New Jersey, as he went from Orlando to Phoenix, and eventually to Dallas as a consistent double-digit scorer. He was still booed in Toronto, even 10 years later, until
Where we just witnessed quite an amazing moment here. Vince Carter has received a standing ovation that has brought tears to his eyes. They just showed a video tribute of Carter on the big screen. At first, a lot of fans started booing, and then they started rising in crescendo. So many. Vince Carter cheered in Toronto after leaving this franchise for the first time since he left. The guy they used to call Air Canada
has been cheered loudly. And maybe there is some closure.
As you saw, he played with Memphis, eventually Sacramento, and he'd retire playing his last game ever in Atlanta.
Free throw is good. The news that we'll be talking more about in Hawks Live postgame is the fact that the end. Vince is getting ready to check back in so the fans get their wish. But the news is that the NBA has announced tonight that it has suspended its season until further notice. Now we'll have more details coming up in Hawks Live postgame. So Vince gets back in, and hey, who knows what's going to happen, but if there's no more basketball for a while after tonight, Vince is going to go out on the floor. They're going to give it to Vince. He's going to take a three and hit it. Even the Knicks are applauding. New York dribbles out the final seconds. Vince Carter leaves the floor a hero.
And now that Vince Carter's career has finally come to a close, I want to hear where you guys have him all time. I probably have him in the top 75 players of all time, and probably a top 15 shooting guard or small forward, depending on what you classify him as. But yeah, overall this was fun to put together. I hope you guys enjoyed, and just let me know what you guys want to see in the comments. Alright, I'll see you.